Inside Out 2 just had its second weekend at the box office, and it looks like it's having a pretty strong hold. After the opening weekend, I was curious whether we're going to see something like this or whether it'll be a stiff drop off because everyone who wanted to see the movie is going to show up to watch it the first weekend, then we'll see a huge drop off the second weekend. But it's looking like that's not the case, even though we have seen that with other movies in the recent past, even ones with good word of mouth like Inside Out. Sometimes they just don't hold on because people, if they're going to go see it, they'll watch it on the first weekend. But it looks like people are still showing up to see Inside Out 2. As you can see from these numbers on Box Office Mojo, from Friday to Friday, it had a 52% decline. Saturday to Saturday, it's 24.4%, and 22% Sunday to Sunday. So by all accounts, this movie is doing pretty well. And with a worldwide box office total of around $724 million, it's possible that next weekend, assuming it has another strong showing, it could actually break $1 billion in just its third weekend. We got this article from Variety right now talking about this. Box office Inside Out 2 scores $100 million in sensational second weekend. Paging joy, Pixar's Inside Out 2 has electrified the box office again, scoring a sensational $100 million in its second weekend of release. Ticket sales declined just 35% from its mighty $154 million debut, resulting in the seventh biggest sophomore outing in history and best ever for an animated film. In fact, the current record holder for the most successful animated movie of all time is 2019's The Lion King. And at this point in its release, Inside Out 2 was doing a little bit better as far as the domestic total goes. And also it had a better hold during its second weekend than 2019's The Lion King. So it's possible that Inside Out 2 could end up becoming the highest grossing animated film of all time. Notably, Inside Out 2 added more in its second weekend than its predecessor, 2015's Inside Out earned in its $90 million opening weekend. The only movie with a bigger second weekend were billion-dollar behemoths Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Endgame, and Infinity War, Black Panther, Jurassic World, The Avengers. At this rate, Inside Out 2 is barreling towards the coveted $1 billion club as well. So far, Disney and Pixar's family-friendly sequel has grossed $355 million in North America and $724 million globally. After 8 days in theaters, Inside Out 2 surpassed Dune Part 2, which generated $282 million domestically and $711 million worldwide as the biggest movie of the year. And Inside Out 2 is still going pretty strong, so I am curious to see what that final number is going to be. But ultimately, the big question to be had here is what's Disney's takeaway going to be for the success of Inside Out 2? Because we have seen them kind of stagnant at the box office these last couple of years with some of their bigger movies just completely flopping at the box office. Wish is a good example of that. That was supposed to be their big centennial movie, and it seemed like people didn't care about it, and that embarrassingly lost a lot of money for Disney. But Inside Out 2 is a huge success, but I'm kind of worried that Disney is going to take away the wrong message from this, because the reason why I think this movie is so successful is because they're not trying to change who their audience is. They seem to know who their audience is when it comes to this movie, and they're trying to cater towards them. We got this right here that's talking about the breakdown of the demographics who actually watched Inside Out 2 compared to Inside Out 1. And you can see the age demographics, which surprisingly enough, it's only about a quarter of the people who are watching this are children, which I suppose makes sense because parents take their kids. So it would stand the reason that there's going to be a lot of adults watching this as well. But when you take a look at some of the further breakdown of this, you can see that the age demographics, okay, so 26% of them, oh no, it's Inside Out 1, excuse me. 25% for age 2 to 11 is the audience for this, followed by 35 to 44-year-olds, which is the next one at 21%. So yeah, old enough to be the parents of this. But take a look at this right here, female to male demographics. This seems to be a predominantly female viewers, 58% of the audience. I'm not saying that's all of them, but still, boys can watch this, guys can watch this, but this seems to be more of a movie that appeals towards girls. And I think that's something that they actually understood, because you can see the demographic breakdown for Inside Out 1 is pretty much the same. And that's something I think Disney needs to take away from this, is that if you cater to your target demographic or the audience who this actually appeals to, well, then you will find success with it, because that's something that we've seen them have problems with in the last several years when it comes to content like Star Wars or Marvel. those are properties that are predominantly viewed by male audiences, that appeal to male audiences, but they've been making concerted efforts, even by their own admission, that they're trying to appeal to more females. And if you want to try to broaden your appeal to a different demographic, that's fine, but you have to make sure you're not going to alienate the current demographic that you already have. Like, if you have a burger shop and you want to try to appeal to vegans, you can do that by offering vegan options on your menu. What you don't do is say, like, okay, we're going to get rid of some of our burgers and replace them with vegan options, because then that's just going to kind of turn off your existing customer base. And the people, you might be able to bring in some more people, but people who are really vegans aren't necessarily going to be interested in eating at a place that also serves burgers like that. So you can see what they've been doing with things like Star Wars and the Marvel content hasn't been working for them, but by doing something like this where they already were appealing to girls and they were trying to stick with that, well, then you can see that they found success. What I am kind of worried about, though, when it comes to this is whether it's going to kind of reflect on what Bob Iger has said in the past, that he wants to focus more on sequels and franchises and stuff like that, because Inside Out 2 was a huge success, but so was Inside Out 1. But I'm just thinking that what they're going to take away from this is like, oh, see, this just kind of goes to show we need to do what I say about doing more sequels and franchises, because that's not what attracts audiences. What ultimately attracts audiences are good movies. And when you have a movie like Inside Out 2 that really is void of all political messaging, or at least overt political messaging, and is just trying to concentrate on telling a story that appeals to its target audience, well, then you're going to find success. But if they're going to try to think like, okay, well, we can still put political messaging in it so long as it's just a sequel or franchise, well, then I think this is just going to be another flash in the pan. I am interested in seeing what this is going to do for Disney as a whole, because in the past, when they have their successes, like we saw with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it didn't really help the overall MCU, because other movies that followed immediately after that still didn't do well at the box office. So I'm not sure if this is going to help Disney down the road when they release some of their other movies this year, or if this is just going to be a one-off thing. And I think it might be more of that. But in the meantime, I think Disney can enjoy this small victory for now, and we'll just see what happens later on down the road. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you think that this is going to help Disney with their other movies, or do you think it's just going to be kind of a one and done and audiences don't care about what their previous movie did at the box office? And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share the video, because it helps out with the channel. Thank you.